You have asked me a lot of questions about FoxESS batteries, and what better way to get an answer than from Leo from FoxESS. So this isn't just going to be easy questions. This isn't one of those videos where someone just reads specifications, 3-phase, 15 kilowatts, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to ask detailed questions, the questions that you have been asking me when you're deciding which batteries to install, so you can make a clear and educated decision whether you want to get a FoxESS battery. And just to be clear, this is a sponsored video, but I would ask the same questions anyway. People who know my channel know that I'm honest and straightforward. I don't just do marketing videos, infomercial, like breakfast TV style stuff. I want to ask the technical questions.
Please contribute. It really helps my independent, honest journalism for you.
Now, you were mentioning the new products coming up. What about the CQ7?
Right. You talk about some new product again. So actually, this is a setup for CQ6.
Yeah. The
CQ7 is going to be like an upgraded version of CQ6. They look exactly the same.
Yeah.
Dimensions, everything is the same. So it's upgraded because of the capacity of each battery stack. It's going to increase from 5.99 to 6.96 kilowatt hour.
Yeah.
Same module, but 1 kilowatt hour more capacity for each module.
Okay, so more density. Does that mean less height, Leo?
So if you talk about the similar system capacity, of course it's going to be less height. Right?
Okay, that's good. So less space. That's pretty good. Will that replace the CQ6 or just be sold next to it?
So it will replace CQ6.
Right.
Yeah. CQ7 is going to be the main product in future to pair with the separate inverter.
Yeah.
That as a go-to product in the market.
Okay.
And also as what you just mentioned regarding the 28 kilowatt hour threshold for the government rebate or the VPP rebate, because it's a 6.96 kilowatt hour each, that give you right under 28 kilowatt hour.
Perfect.
With 4 units.
Yes. Nice. Okay. And speaking of a lot of energy being used in a house, do you have EV chargers at Fox as well?
Yeah, we do. We have the A series and the L series both. So they both are AC chargers, and they both can work with our battery system together as an ecosystem. So the car can be charged through the excess solar in this way. Yeah.
And do you think you'll have, because people will ask me, will you have a bi-directional charger, or do you think that's not needed quite so much yet? Because I do a lot of electric car reviews. Pretty much most electric car manufacturers in Australia, as of early 2026, still have not allowed warranty-covered V2G, V2H export-import from the car into the house.
Yes, we think bi-directional, or let's say V2G, is the future in front of us. But in the meantime, the R&D team is developing the bi-directional charger, especially the DC charger. We're hoping to launch the DC charger later the year or early next year. But also we believe, as what you said, the car manufacturer is also not ready yet. But we're also keen to understand the trend in the car market. See if when they started to be ready, and we definitely need to be ready before that. And also the registration, regulation, how they're going to be ready. Yeah.
Okay. Do you think it will be a modular one, or maybe this is too far in the future to guess whether it'll be a separate unit on the wall? We have to wait and see, maybe?
We'll see.
Yeah.
Anything can be possible, right?
Anything can be possible, sure. So Leo, VPPs, people are really interested in them, and the New South Wales cashback from state government relies on the battery being proved to be already connected to a VPP with one bill already issued. So are you compatible with any particular VPPs on that list?
Of course, 2 major ones, Origin and Amber.
Yep.
We're fully on board.
And are there any other ones coming soon? Like Globert is pretty popular for people who want a simple proposition.
Yeah, Globert is in testing.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can get this all done as quick as possible. Right?
Sure. Sometime in Q2 of 2026, hopefully. So like April to June, it will just appear on the list of approved ones. Cool. So that's really good. Okay. Now, we mentioned the federal battery, cheaper home battery scheme. We shouldn't forget the biggest state in New South Wales in Australia also has its own battery incentive, but only if you connect it to an authorized VPP and only if that battery is on the authorized list as well. So are FoxESS batteries on that list, Leo?
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
sure.
awesome. And that one is also like the federal government rebate, it has its own rules. You have to make sure that your usable battery capacity is 28 kilowatt hours or less to be eligible for the New South Wales battery cashback. So this is not something the installer does for you. You've got to get the battery installed, connect to a compatible VPP. We haven't really mentioned inverters that much. Some people might not be as excited about the inverter as the battery, but this is the real workhorse, getting the energy in and out of the battery. What size inverter do you recommend for most people, bearing in mind that sometimes the local grid company has its own rules, so people may be restricted, the installer may have to apply for a certain size, but if there's no big restrictions, what would you suggest for single phase and three phase as a minimum size?
Look, so Nirav, so if you ask me, do I recommend like a 5 kilo inverter with like a 40 or 50 kilowatt hour battery? Of course not. If you think about 50 kilowatt hour battery, 5 kilo inverter, that means without any home load and sun is really good, you're gonna need to use like 10 hours to charge a battery, which is not ideal.
No.
And not efficient. Also, probably your battery never get charged fully or discharged fully. The battery health is not good too, right? So my recommendation, normally choose the inverter size and the battery size in between like 2 to 4 times. It will be more ideal.
Okay.
So let's say, because this is set up, this is a 15 kilo inverter, and this whole system battery is 48 kilowatt hour. So you're gonna need to use around like 3 hours something to charge or discharge your battery in full speed, which is ideal, which is good. Right? It can be a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller, but in that range, 2 to 4 hours, I think it's more ideal.
Yeah, definitely. I think so. Cool. Okay, let's talk about some really kind of nerd level stuff that a lot of people aren't aware of. A lot of people want to have really granular control over their system. So something that a lot more of my technically sort of knowledgeable viewers might be interested in. Already, unlike some brands, FoxESS is compatible with Modbus protocol and OpenAPI, which allow you to have sort of direct control over how the battery works.
Yep. So the Modbus protocol and the OpenAPI document, they're both available online. If anyone interested, go online to check it out. They are available on that, and if you want to use them to connect to your own home other devices, see how you work to do a bit more automation by yourself, feel free to do that, to be more research. This is open.
Are these open source project developers that have enabled the code for Modbus and OpenAPI, or is it FoxESS code?
It's our own. The R&D team developed this document by themselves.
Okay, and bonus question I hadn't asked Leo before. OCPP, are your EV chargers compatible with that? Because that means that, again, people can use smarter systems to integrate and control their EV charger, maybe like fill the car when energy is really cheap, for example.
The OCPP is compatible.
Okay, awesome. That's really good too, because that's not common with all brands. Australia is a really hot place, but also some places are really cold. Like people overseas might be surprised to hear, yes, we do have snow in Australia in some parts. So we have a wide variety of temperatures. I noticed recently famous Aussie installer YouTubers MC Electrical visited the FoxESS factory, and they looked at accelerated testing of the hardware and also extreme temperature testing as well. Can you tell us about those two things?
Okay, so for agent testing, what we want to test mainly, when they visited the factory, they saw that one. It's actually to test how many cycles actually battery can do. That test normally will be like for like half year or year long.
Wow.
So keep charging to full 100%, then keep discharging to, let's say, 10%, because we, like I said earlier, we normally recommend 10% as default minimum SOC. So keep charging to 100%, keep discharging to 10%, and doing this action every day, 24 hours for half a year or a year long, for no matter if it's CQ series or EQ series and other batteries. This is what they saw in the factory for aging test. Yeah. So in short, is to ensure end users, when we tell them about the warranty throughput, it's actually true. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Regarding the other test, climate things. Yeah. So there's also climate chambers in the lab to test the inverter and battery that can be endure the high heat and also the cold weather in the way. This all in testing in the
Cool.
lab. Yeah.
Because unless people are like me and they like reading the labels, they might not realize that this inverter, for example, is rated to.
So normally the inverter is, because for residential especially, we're talking about like a 45 degrees maximum, right? I mean for ambient temperature.
Yeah.
So because especially in Australia, it's easy to hit like 40 degrees. So the inverter normally we design for up to 45 degrees to have 100% performance.
Yeah.
Then if the ambient temperature go over 45 degrees, it doesn't mean the inverter can't operate. It still can operate, but it's starting to degrade some performance to protect the inverter and regarding the safety thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you suggest as an option that people get some kind of shade for the inverter if they have to install it outside? Ideally, they should try and install it not on a western wall, for example, because in the southern hemisphere, at the western wall is where the setting sun will be baking the battery. Yeah, so depending on where the legal installation areas are, somewhere nice like this, a very good spacious garage with lots of air cooling is like the premium place to install. But if you have to install it outside, is it nice to have some kind of shade?
So look, in our menu we already have the clear instruction that do not expose the device under the sun.
Yeah.
Under the direct sun.
Yeah.
So that will cook the inverter and battery in a way. So of course, if you have a shade, that's good to protect the inverter and battery to expose directly under the sun.
Yeah.
So we highly recommend that. Yeah. Of course, if you can install the system not directed to the sun, let's say for example, if you install the system in the south face of a house, or even if you install at the east side, in the morning the sunshine is still not that hot.
Thanks for liking, subscribing, and sharing my videos. It really helps me make more videos like this for you. And have a look at the suggested videos up above. I'm pretty sure you'll like those as well. Thanks, and see you later.